Okay, wait. Okay.
My name is... Okay.
Wait,
Take
I have to
two?
get the giggles out.
take
Okay.
it.
Why'd you laugh at
I
that?
don't know.
Once the intro's done, like, we're gonna be good to go.
Sorry.
My name is Joe Ng. Welcome to the Shift Fashion Lab. And today we're joined by Vanessa and Jason. Welcome. Vanessa, you may recognize as Vivacious Honey, who started her content creation journey in 2020 and today has amassed a following of over 5 million followers across all platforms. Today we're going to take a deep dive into your story and talk about your new venture and clothing brand, Rain. But first, how did you both meet and how did this partnership develop?
First of all, thank you so much for having us here and just, hosting us here at the Shift Lab. It's been an incredible couple of days here in Toronto. As mentioned, my name's Vanessa. This is my wonderful fiance, Jason. We met in college. We were the same major. He's a year older than me. And yeah, we just met on campus, comp sci, and that's really it.
How about your side of the story, Jason?
Same college, same major. I just ran into her one summer. That was it.
All right. And how has your partnership developed from then till now?
It honestly progressed pretty naturally, I would say. When I first started Rain, I really needed a partner in this. It's such a daunting task. Like, obviously, neither of us have done this before. And it was such a huge undertaking, and I just feel like he kind of fit naturally into that role, and we kind of just work really well together, so.
It's amazing. I think when you work with your partners, you guys have an aligned goal.
Yeah.
That makes things a lot easier in your personal life and with your grand vision you're trying to create.
Definitely, yeah. I think there's a lot of advantages. I've also heard the opposite, right? That you should never work with your spouse because it can cause conflict within your relationship, and like mixing personal relationships with business, I often hear is like a really, really bad idea. We obviously just started this, so I guess time will tell, but I feel incredibly confident that he and I can just tackle anything, so.
I think when it comes to business and working with your spouse, the really important part is understanding that business is business.
Yeah.
And leaving that at the door when you leave the office and starting your relationship and enjoying your relationship when you do get home.
Yeah,
and having that
definitely.
separation is really important.
Yeah, I think separation is definitely key. I know sometimes like when we're going to bed, and I know you mentioned something similarly with your wife, I think like I also just like want to shut down, like it's bedtime, and then he'll start getting really excited about something about Rain, and I'm like, no. I'm like, nope, save it for tomorrow. I just can't do this right now. So yeah, I think the key is just separation. But
Yeah, and it's making time during the day to make sure that you like have that business side of things, because like I'm trying to say things at night because I didn't get her time during the day.
Yeah.
So it's like a battle a little bit. So I think just time blocking, time for like what we're supposed to be doing, that's been key.
At least the conversations are about the brand you're creating together, and that's the really exciting part.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey from being a content creator and now becoming soon-to-be owners? Actually,
Yeah.
you are owners of a fashion brand.
Yeah, so completely different, obviously. My day-to-day has drastically changed in a very rapid, couple of months, honestly. So I guess for a bit of context, I've been doing content for 3 years now, since 2020 quarantine. Ever since I was little, it's been a dream of mine to create a clothing brand. I've always been really into fashion, and I've always expressed myself through fashion. So it's always just been a dream. I would like sketch and doodle in like my notebooks. So when I started content creation, it's perfect because, I have the platform. I have people who are really invested in not just my content, but me as an individual, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And I think logistically as well, I don't see content creation as something that I want to do for like my entire life. Eventually we want to have children soon, and I want to be an extremely present mother to who knows how many children, but I just don't feel like I'm going to want to be in front of the camera day in and day out all the time. So I think it made sense logistically, just having another source of income that I didn't have to constantly like be filming all the time, and also it's just fulfilling my own dream. So
Can you talk a little bit more about the dream part in terms of creating a fashion brand? Because I think a lot of people get really excited about the idea of it, but obviously there's been a lot of work that's gone up to this place.
A ton of work. Learning curve is incredibly steep. I've already learned so much on this like 2-day trip, that I had no clue about. Like, I never wanted to be that influencer, like I've mentioned to you before, where, you know, I just slap my name on a hoodie and then call it a day, and you make a quick buck, and then that lasts for like a year, and that's it. And it kind of just sinks into something that nobody remembers. Like, this is really like our baby. You know, we're pouring all of our time and effort into this. I would say, like, ever since, I think it all really started like in my emo phase in middle school is when I started getting really creative. And it was at that point like very DIY, like cutting into my clothing and like adding safety pins and all that stuff. But yeah, didn't want to just put a graphic on a t-shirt and call it a day. Like, I wanted this to be like our thing. Yeah.
I see you smiling over there. So how has this been a little bit of a journey for you getting into fashion?
Kind of a hog, sorry, the mic hog.
No, I smiled when she talked about her emo phase because I was thinking back to those pictures. They're rather funny.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I got my job out of college in comp sci, started binging a lot of Alex Hormozy content, a couple other people, and it kind of woke me up to what was possible. Like, limiting beliefs were being shattered left and right. And then she said, well, she was kind of developing her audience and the influence she has at the same time. And it made perfect sense to jump into this together because it had always been a dream of hers. And she was so busy in the day-to-day that, like, I don't think she ever realized it was time. She had, like, a problem that she could solve, and she had a means to give it to people. And I was kind of learning about the entrepreneurial side of things. I haven't been particularly interested in women's fashion at all, actually. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not that interested, but I was definitely entrepreneurial minded, and the inverse was not true for her. It's like she was more so just like, I kind of want to create these things for people. So it just made perfect sense for us to line up. Like, it kind of just fell right into place.
Yeah, definitely like yin yang for sure. Like, I think we balance each other out very, very well.
Yeah. And speaking about this journey you're embarking on, how did you come up with Rain? And is there a story behind the brand?
Yeah. So I guess, first of all, the name. I did not want it to be so closely tied to my identity as a content creator. So I definitely wanted to stay away from like Vivacious Honey clothing line or something. Eventually, our goal is to make this brand so big that people have absolutely no clue who I am, right? I don't want this to be like Vanessa's brand, Vivacious Honey's brand. I want to see people walking down the street and they see me and they're like, who are you? Like, just have no clue, because we want this to outgrow me and like even my audience. But at the same time, I still wanted the name to have some sort of sentimental reason and like that ties back to me. So I'm Chinese and I have a Chinese name given to me by my parents, and it means rain. And so I just thought that would be a very fun way to incorporate, you know, my history and like my life into it without it being like overtly like Vanessa or Vivacious or something.
Yeah, and I know we've learned a lot about your journey and your brand in the past few days. Do you want to kind of tell me about what you were trying to solve? Because a lot of this was created to solve problems for a lot of your audience and a lot of people that you interact with.
So when he and I first started, you know, brainstorming, I didn't really have a purpose in mind other than like, I want to make cute clothes for people. And he would tell me all the time, like, listen, we need to solve people's problems, right? And that's how a brand really succeeds and really stands out and adds value to people. And I think at the time, my mindset was just so like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, I want to make cute clothes. I don't really have a reason. And I didn't feel super passionate about it. Like, I knew something was missing. I just didn't know what. And then he sat me down and we just brainstormed. Like, for a few hours just straight. That's all we did. And I realized that the first collection that I drew, everything was cohesive. Everything was mix and match, because I tell my audience all the time, like, mixing and matching sets basically are the easiest way to look put together in under a minute. If you follow me, you know that I say that a million times. And so without even really thinking, I just drew a bunch of matching sets. Like, it wasn't even, you know, the purpose of it. That's just what naturally made sense to me. And then I was like, why don't we take this idea and just expand it times 1,000? You know, like, everybody loves matching sets. It's so easy. You just roll out of bed, you just grab it. But I feel like there's like a lack of versatility and interchangeability. So we just were like, why don't we just make a ton of tops and a ton of bottoms, and no matter which two that you choose, like every single time it works and kind of just solves that problem of waking up in the morning and having no clue what to wear. So
yeah. And I think that's a very important part of creating a brand, is not just putting things out to put things out, but to actually have your audience know that you are listening, you are creating something for them, and there's actually thought and intention put into it, which makes the brand a lot more authentic than just trying to sell merch or buying private label and slapping something on it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I have this amazing, incredible community. Why not listen to their voice? You know, it makes no sense. Like we want this to solve everybody's problems, like not just my own. And so we've been polling my audience, you know, sending them quizzes, asking them about colors, and there's still so much to do. And I definitely want this to be a collaborative effort and make a perfect product for everybody.
And speaking about that collaborative effort and being able to share what the experience is about building a clothing brand, how has that experience been so far? Is it what you thought it would be? Is it as easy, as hard? Tell me a little bit of story about from the beginning to now.
I think collaboration-wise and, you know, communicating with my audience is kind of expected. If anything, I think I underestimated the amount of sheer support and enthusiasm people had for this and for this whole journey as a whole. So incredibly grateful for that. I think the journey in general, though, again, like I mentioned, so much that we couldn't even anticipate because we had no clue, you know, what was going on. Like, he's from a comp sci background, so am I, kind of, and like, you know, content creation, completely different climate, atmosphere than what we're used to. But is there anything you want to like add on to that in your experience?
Yeah, in terms of the clothing brand, I think it was just the amount of time that it really takes. It's like, you think it's like, I'll just kind of put an hour into this every day and it'll grow into something amazing. And then before you know it, it's taking 5. Like, it's just so much more than you'd anticipate. And I think the difference between, I told you this earlier today, but I think the difference between doing just enough to get something out there and doing something like spectacular, that gap is bigger than doing nothing to doing the first stage. Like, the gap is just massive to make something that really matters. So I think it wasn't really shocking for me. I kind of like, I guess I read up on it and I anticipated how hard it was going to be. But it was getting her out of the weeds on the day-to-day and kind of trying to get her to refocus. Because again, like this only gets as big as we're willing to make it, and it's just our time. So it's just kind of pivoting has been tough.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like, I've been approached by companies that kind of are like the catalog sense, where they're like, here you go, you should pick and choose these different styles that we already have in stock and just change the logo. And I'm like, no. Like, yeah, we don't want to just snap our fingers and push out a product that we don't care about and we didn't put effort and sacrifice into, because at the end of the day, like, what we're doing with Rain, it really is sacrifice. It's a huge time commitment. And like you mentioned, like refocusing and kind of shifting gears from, you know, content creator or, you know, software engineer into entrepreneur and like business is an incredibly different shift that takes a lot of time. So we're willing to put in that time for sure.
Yeah, it's like it's the mental, like, more so than anything. Like, it's just like understanding how long this shift takes.
Yeah.
Shift. Maybe that's what you should do with your thing. Shift fashion brand is shifting your mindset.
Shifting mindsets. Yeah.
But yeah, it was the shift that I think was the hardest thing at the beginning.
Yeah. And in terms of like the time commitment, I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Like you said, you can just slap your logo on something, but it feels extremely inauthentic. And I think people this day and age are wiser than they've ever been, and they can feel that inauthenticity. Just to give you guys an example, we spent an hour and a half probably just deciding the bag the garment was going to go in, and hours deciding
And it's not even
just
done.
colors.
Like,
Exactly. That gap between something that's really amazing and special is insurmountable. How are you both preparing yourself as business owners? You know, are there any mentors or resources that you're leaning in on? I know you spoke a lot about Alex Hormozy.
Yeah, I would say the whole journey started with Russell Brunson's trilogy. He just made books about online marketing and building businesses in general, and they hooked my attention a lot. And then from there, I noticed I was binging a lot of Alex Hormozy content, which I know a lot of people do. I don't think they're doing much with it, which is a whole separate conversation. But I wasn't doing anything with it for a long time either, so I'm glad like we have the opportunity to do that. But I would say the two people for me so far have been Brunson and Hormozy. Do you have anybody?
On a business side, no, because I think, again, he's definitely more business focused. I think creatively, though, there are a few people that I look up to, especially from the creator to an entrepreneur route, because obviously that's something I can really resonate with. I know when we first started doing initial research into all of this, we had a few people we reached out to and got connected to. So Heidi from Buff Bunny, who you guys work with, Natalie from Classy Network, and then Celine from Vitae Apparel, all people that, again, for the most part, really lean into the social media aspect of, running a business and making a business really go viral and the longevity behind it. So yeah, there's definitely a few people we look up to in that sense as well.
And as this journey progresses, there's going to be a lot of people that look up to both of you as well. So I would say like this is going to be a big, I've seen this before. Obviously this is a big journey you guys are going on, and I think you guys are both very well equipped to provide, and it's not even just providing clothing, it's about providing value to those people that you're going to be impacting, and that's the most important part. It's not just clothing, it's being able to be more confident when you step out through the door. It's being able to save a little bit of time mixing and matching these sets so you can give more time and energy to those other aspects of your life.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a lot more than just clothing.
Definitely. I think it was actually you who suggested that, part of our, I guess, not slogan, but like, just behind the brand, I think it was your love for fashion should be celebrated, not complicated.
Yep.
So that's exactly, what we're going for. I don't think, the ease of mix and match is to make, fashion boring. It's not like, oh, you just grab it and like, that's it, like super basic. It's really just to simplify it in ways that you can, celebrate it and add to it. So
absolutely. Talking about your audience, and obviously you spend a lot of time hearing their feedback. How do you plan on incorporating the feedback for the products that you're developing for Rain?
There's a ton of ways, honestly. So number one, obviously Instagram polls and YouTube community polls. It's just so incredible that in this day and age, I'm able to, send out a poll, and within like 10 minutes, you just have results, and you can give I can give my audience like exactly what they're looking for. And I think that's incredibly powerful. We also have a newsletter, a Vivacious Honey newsletter, where we're going to be adding little tidbits and maybe, asking my audience there as well, a little bit more exclusive content. This just, I don't know, through like all of the channels, I feel like there's ways to always incorporate audience feedback.
I mean, it's decisions like colors, like do people prefer a thicker fabric versus a thinner fabric? Do they prefer a glued hem versus a stitched hem?
Yeah.
It's just like being able to just get live feedback. If she's unsure, she just posts a story and she can get live feedback for the people she's selling to.
Yeah, so it takes like the guesswork out of it too, which is amazing. Like, for instance, I bring this example up all the time, but for our first collection, we were narrowing down on that last color, and my heart was, I was like, oh, everybody's gonna want pink. Pink is so trendy right now. Everyone wants pink. I added pink, purple, green was like my throwaway color. I was like, nobody's gonna want green. Green won. So green like kind of, took off. And so it's moments like that where I'm like, well, I'm glad that, we really leaned into my audience to hear exactly like, this is your preference, and that's really powerful.
And because you're creating something for them and they're involved in that process now,
Exactly.
which is really great.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing other brands and working with many brands as I have, and seeing you guys and spending the last 2 days with you, there's definitely going to be something really special here that's being built. And I think that authenticity and really actually caring about the people you're making clothes for is what really matters, and you guys have that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We're excited, for sure.
And you spoke about this briefly before with your creative side and your operational side. What does your day-to-day look like?
Do you want to start? Yours is definitely way more structured than mine.
Yeah. So my main goal is to handle the entire back end of this. And by back end, that just means operations. And by operations, that really just means at a high level, I'm trying to make all the right decisions to keep her dream alive and make it into a reality. So that means speaking with you guys, maintaining communication with our team, managing timelines, dealing with just like the cost of things in the back end and making sure that that this runs efficiently. It's a well-oiled machine. Yeah, it's really just high level, just business decisions and making the right choice to make her dreams a reality.
I love that support system you guys are creating. It's really important.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think on the opposite hand, right, I'm more of like the creative side. So obviously all the designs, all of the content that goes behind it. And I want to show, my audience how you style our pieces, which aesthetics you should wear them in, things like that. I would say my day-to-day when it comes to Rain, we are still working on, right? I know one day he sat me down and was like, hey, we need to give you a structured day-to-day, hourly.
Like never.
Schedule. I know, because I was like literally shifting gears every 5 minutes. Like, oh, an email. Like, oh, I have a meeting this time. Like, so it is a work in progress. And I think for me, the biggest roadblock, I guess, in this journey so far is, again, switching between content creator mode. I was pushing out 6 to 7 videos a week to now, okay, let's scale back a bit, do 3 to 4 so I can invest that time into Rain instead.
Yeah, and there was a lesson that I think both of us learned where she wasn't giving it all of her time, and it was like very short time blocks, and it wasn't focused work. And then, like I think she mentioned it, where it wasn't until we sat down on a plane ride, she didn't have an excuse not to give me her attention on a plane ride.
Yeah.
So you don't have Wi-Fi on there. And then that's when I got her full attention, and I got like her best work came out during that period. Like that's when we started brainstorming, and that's, again, like she mentioned, that's when she came up with the problem that she can actually solve for her audience. Like if you don't give yourself any time to do anything without distraction, it's just not going to work out. Like you know this if you're a productive guy. Like if you don't time block and remove distractions, you're just like pivoting, and you're just never
kind of like half-assing everything. If you're doing everything simultaneously, you can't give it 100%.
You never get to the point where you get deep into the work. You're really just getting very shallow with everything. And at the end of the day, whatever you water grows. So at some point, you're just going to be watering Rain, and it's going to be putting those Miracle Grow sticks in there.
Yeah, and that goes for everything, right? Like even content creation. There are days where sometimes I'm like, oh no, I need to push out a video today, and I won't put in 100% effort because I'm rushing. Whereas, if I take the time, I slow down, like maybe I don't do a video today, but tomorrow's is going to be amazing because I'm not rushing. So it's really about, just maximizing the time you have, and really, like, honestly, quality over quantity.
Yeah, less is more.
Yeah.
A lot of time, less is just more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Being able to really focus yourself too, and being able to apply yourself to what you really love day in and day out, is something that's very rare that a lot of people don't get to do. And being able to do that, you can stay in this flow state, and everything becomes effortless.
Yeah. It's kind of like a runner's high, right? Like you can't reach a runner's high if you're running and then walking and then running, doing jumping jacks. Like you have to just keep going at one thing at a time, and then you can get that flow state.
Absolutely. And like a little more for kind of a fun question, as you see this brand grow, if you could have any celebrity ambassador, who would it be and why?
Yeah. I don't know about, traditional celebrity, like an actor or singer, but I guess a personal person that I have in mind, I guess. There's this one content creator, her name is Jen Im, and her life and her journey, not only as a content creator, but, as a human being, or at least how I perceive it online, is extremely aspirational to me. She kind of, grinded and became a very, very respected top content creator, and she amassed this amazing community. She launched her clothing brand, Eggy, and then she became a mother, and she kind of, right now I believe is living a more quiet, toned down life. And that's just something that I aspired to have. And she's just an incredibly content person, it seems. And I think, that's something that I sometimes struggle with. Like when you're like in the weeds every single day and you're always grinding, sometimes it's hard to sit back and be like life is nice, like let's take it slow. And I know she talks about it in her videos where when she was in her 20s, when she was my age, she was also grinding every day where she couldn't really find that content in life. I don't know the word, but you know what I'm saying. And that's something that I look forward to in the future, is just kind of slowing down.
I don't think content, I think, means that you're happy where you are. It's more gratitude. And having gratitude along the journey is extremely important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was having an argument with my friend that basically saw the goal as the only thing to strive for, and if you don't make it, you failed, and then it was a waste of time. And that made no sense to me, because I think you learn that the journey is it's so cliche, but it's like unbelievably true, that if you're not able to learn that the journey is worth it, then you probably won't embark on it at all, and then it will be a big regret. So
Yeah, you don't want to be that person who was rich, old, and didn't enjoy the years getting there, right?
Exactly.
I've heard you talk about being in the weeds a lot. Can you kind of describe what that really looks like? Because I think a lot of people who may follow you don't understand the amount of work that goes into doing even a short for them.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the people who really, are true, the true audience of mine understands, I think. And that's really special. But I think, the vast majority of people who aren't content creators or aren't familiar with the space, it makes sense. You see 15 seconds of somebody on the internet and you're like, oh, their life is so easy. They just have to whip out their phone and take a video. It really is a lot more than that.
How long did that 15-second take to make?
Like 2 to 3 to 4 hours, right? So there's a lot behind the scenes that you don't see. And I think it's not even just on the actual creation of the content itself that takes a lot of time. It's the strategy, right? Like at the end of the day, you are a businesswoman in a sense, right? You're making deals. Like you don't just, money doesn't just rain on you, as a content creator. Even if you have millions and millions of followers, you still have to be strategic about it. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't see as well. But yeah, I think I am trying to slow down in a sense. I know what Jason was saying about the journey and making that something worthwhile. I think it was probably the way I was raised. It's a little bit difficult for me now even to think about the journey. Like for me, growing up, it's always been results matter, and that is it. Like if you don't have an A+ in school, you're a failure. So I think for me, it's trying to shift that mentality. Yeah.
I think results, and just to kind of piggyback, results, as you know, obviously do matter, a lot. But the person who enjoys the journey is more likely to get better results than the person who doesn't. Yeah. To me, that's the distinguishing factor there.
Yeah. And I think peeling back and what you're doing I can see you're wearing one of your pieces here. Peeling back that veil of what it actually takes to build a brand is going to be such an interesting journey for your audience to follow and watch, because so many people just hide all the work, and then just pops up one day. We realize how much effort it took to get there.
Yeah, I think not only do we want to bring my audience into this to get their feedback, of course, but yeah, I want people to see and really be a part of the journey. And I think that's where you find the most brand loyalty. Even for myself, as a consumer, there are so many brands that, I get clothing from or I shop from, and it's the ones that I know their story and I know their messaging and I see the behind the scenes that I feel invested in. And so I want to give that experience to my audience as well.
And so touching base on that, I know you've shown your audience the past, they kind of know the present. What is in the future? What can we expect for the inaugural year of Reign and therefore?
Yeah, I think design-wise, so much. The possibilities really are endless. Literally an hour ago, I was in the little sketchbook, seeing all the sketches, and we have more than enough designs for the next 2-3 years. And so there's just so much to play around with. And again, getting the audience feedback is going to be incredibly, incredibly critical and crucial. But yeah, there's so much. Today we were discussing, the colors for not only spring, but summer, fall, winter, and beyond. But yeah, we're definitely gonna get fun. I think right now we're gonna have that one core fabric for our first launch. Second launch, we're thinking about introducing the mesh, and then we're gonna get really fun in the fall for cargos, and then maybe even sweat sets in the future. So there's a lot, yeah.
You guys excited?
So excited. I feel like this trip in particular is really making it set in stone.
Feels real, right?
It feels real.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
For sure.
Yeah. I think before it was like, even when we were doing like our like Zoom calls, it's incredibly different than being in a room like with you, feeling the fabrics, like doing the fittings, like looking at the swatches. Yeah. It's definitely becoming real and getting more exciting every day.
That's amazing. And where can your audience follow Rain, and where can your audience find out more and and stay in touch with what's happening?
Yeah, so we do have the shoprain.co Instagram and TikTok, as well as YouTube. I think that one's at shoprain. We also have our landing page kind of in the works. Our website is in the works right now, but we do have an email sign up on our website or shoprain.co, where you can get sneak peeks and everything, as well as the Vivacious Honey newsletter. I think down the line we also want to do a standalone Rain newsletter as well.
So we've talked a lot about creating clothing for your audience, and I know a lot of people struggle with their day-to-day and getting outfits ready. Do you guys struggle as a fashion content creator?
Yeah, for sure. I have this huge closet busting at the seams. Way too much clothes, but
there's nothing to wear.
Yeah, he's just shaking his head because we're always like 10 to 15 minutes late wherever we're going, because I'm just standing there like, what do I wear? And then, one day I was getting ready for the gym and I threw on my outfit as usual in like 5 seconds flat. And I was like, interesting. Like, I don't struggle to get ready for the gym, even though, I still look cute. Like, it's still a cohesive outfit. And, it's essentially because I had, leggings, sports bra, they match. And so it was just so easy for me to get ready. So I was like, okay, let's take this concept of matching athleisure or leggings, whatever, and just extend that to everyday wear, because that's something I personally have not really seen yet in the industry. And we really wanted to tap into that matching set concept and just expand it.
Any signing off comments? This camera or this camera?
You. I don't know. I guess I'll go first. Like, for me, just from the bottom of my heart, I'm just so incredibly appreciative of, my community. And every single time it's mind-blowing to see the response from people. I definitely think all content creators, to some extent, even the most famous people, celebrities, I mean, we're just regular people, so it's like weird to think that there's so many people who are just excited for this, right? Obviously, like, this is our baby, but it's just strange to see other people reacting the same way, just with such enthusiasm. So incredibly grateful for that, and super excited to bring you guys on the journey. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be in the position I'm in, and I would say I'm grateful to you guys as well, her audience, for making her be able to live her dream out, and then me being able to help her with that dream. So I'm just incredibly grateful for the opportunity that you guys have given her, and therefore me as well. So thank you for that. And
any special dates we're working towards?
Dates?
Yeah, for the launch?
Yeah, hopefully it's around the wedding.
Okay.
Busy month. It will be a busy
So we're looking
month.
at spring of 24?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe a late spring launch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were saying we'll literally be on our honeymoon, like on our laptops, working the whole time. But yeah, that's going to be an insane month for sure if it lands at the same time. Yeah.
And that's going to be an exciting journey, and it makes it that much more memorable. Mm-hmm. You're starting your new life together as a husband and wife, and you're starting your new company together as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time for joining us. And I never thought about how to sign off this thing.
How do you sign off a podcast?
Well, thank you.
How good are these mics?
Perfect.
You paid a lot of money
Thanks.
for these mics.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And until next time.